The Global Jamaica Diaspora Coalition kicks off its second biennial diaspora conference online Sunday, June 14th to Thursday, June 18th from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 6 to 9 p.m. Jamaica time. Join this impressive lineup of speakers as they discuss and provide solutions to crime, agriculture, health, economics, tourism, and beach rights access. All are invited and it's totally free. No airline tickets, no hotels, no peddling. Just one diaspora, one voice. That's the second biennial diaspora conference, June 14th to 18th at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 6 p.m. Jamaica time. Join us on YouTube channel Reason with Rattigan. One diaspora, one voice, one Jamaica. Sponsored by our people, for the people.
In your rights, I saw you stay. How long the mother knows that the fire can't cool.
Blessings.
Our people for fool. Now build no house.
Yes, my brother. Yes, my brother.
All right.
The most I rule. They better stop criticizing. Cause what them a do now phasing. You know the man no lazy. All them a talk, them a the one red crazy. Fight for the people every day. Risk them life for the people every day. Get criticized for the people every day. Defending your rights. I saw you stay. We'll fight for the people every day. Risk them life for the people every day. Get criticized for the people every day. Defending your rights. I saw you stay. The problem say what all eyes on him. I defend the people them set spice on him. Even politicians spread lies on him. But we know the book of them not wise like him. Back up the nanotize on him. Them know say that the people rely on him. You know said them bring out them Christ through him. That's why all the people them respect him. Just like Selassie and Marcus Garvey. The man hold the order of the Trinity. A real strong soldier in a army. No simpleton can disarm me. Them fight for the people every day. Risk them life for the people every day. Get criticized for the people every day. Defending your rights. I saw you stay. Them fight for the people every day. Risk them life for the people every day. Get criticized for the people every day. Defending your rights. I saw you stay. Them fight for the people every day. Risk them life for the people every day. Get criticized for the people every day.
Yes, my people. Good evening, and welcome to Reason with Rattigan, the fifth and final day of our online diaspora conference. As most of you know, on Sunday we started out with what is the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council, because we've been hearing about this diaspora body and we've been hearing about this biennial meeting conference in Jamaica. And so we wanted our people to understand what the organization is about, understand its creation, its mandate, and more importantly, understand that this organization was created for us. However, it's been hijacked and it serves the purpose of the government of Jamaica. And that shouldn't be the case. It should be run by the diaspora with a relationship with any Jamaican government, every Jamaican government. But it shouldn't be run by the Jamaican government. And we explain the reasons as to why it is not a registered 501c3 non-profit organization, simply because you have government officials sitting on the board. It's run by 4 officials, 3 of them government officials, and the 4th is a member of the diaspora who is appointed by the government officials. It cannot work like that. And that's why I submitted self to provide a service, in the sense that I would go in and explain to the members that, listen, this thing can work, because it's not working right now. It can work, but here's how we should have it. We should change the terms of reference, and it's in the very last, toward the last provisions. They speak to amending the terms of reference, because you can't go in and just change things like that. But there are provisions in there where you can change it, where you can talk to the members and say, listen, this is what I think we should do. Work with people. And if they decided that, no, we're not going to do it, then so be it. But at least give it a try. And then say, government, listen, let's just register this thing. Let's do it above board. And let's have a relationship with you. And remember, the 2 purposes of the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council, and I won't even ask it as an exam. Well, maybe I'll ask it for the summer, during the summer exam, for the summer exam, I'll ask it. 2 purposes. One is to ensure that diaspora members prosper in the countries where they and their descendants live. That's enshrined in the policy, and it's enshrined in the terms of reference. And the second thing is to leverage that leverage your prosperity to help with Jamaica's national development. Those are admirable provisions. They're noble provisions. And guess what? That's what the Nigerians do. That's what the South Koreans do. That's what the Irish do. That's what the Israelis do. That's what all of these diaspora organizations do. They're independent from home country government. Independent, but they have a relationship with them. You heard it here when we had the gentleman from the Nigerian diaspora group. What did he say? He said, look, we help people, Nigerians here in the US, and we help Nigerians back home. And we have a relationship with the government, but they're not part of our organization. We invite them, we discuss issues with them, we have a relationship with them, but they don't influence what we do. And unfortunately, that's what's going on with the one in Jamaica. It's influenced, it's led, it's directed by the government of Jamaica. In fact, the conference that just ended today, who do you think paid for that? It wasn't the diaspora, it was the government. And when somebody's paying your way, they can tell you what to do and you just have to do it. When they're playing the music, you just have to dance. It's that simple. So I want to thank all of you for joining us during the course of over the course of 5 days. And remember, again, Sunday we talked about the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council. Monday we spoke about education, and we had Dr. Dice. Dr. Dice, I know you're watching. I have to put up your book. I'll do it this Saturday. Interesting book, outstanding book. And I need all of you to go out and support Dr. Dice. Tuesday, we had national security. We discussed national security. We had Tony Clayton. We had Fitz Jackson. We had Marvin Edgar. And we had my brother, Fitz. Him name escape me now. That look at him face right now. I'm watch a program right now. He must have said, him name will come to me. But we had an outstanding conversation. Then last night, we talked about the economy. Last night, we were supposed to be joined by Dr. Dawes, but when you see what happened in Parliament, so Dr. Dawes texted me and said, listen, can't make it, because enough things are going on. Bobby Finzi-Smith was with us on Tuesday to discuss national security. And then last night, we had Dr. Kenny Thompson. We talked about the economy, and we talked about a whole host of things affecting the economy and the impact on the Jamaican people, as well as people in the diaspora. And then tonight, now we're going to talk about beach access, land rights, tourism, and advocacy, which they will never talk to you about, because advocacy is the principle that in these circumstances, that we're not going to crawl on our knees. We're going to stand on our feet. And if we've been crawling on our knees, it's time to stand on our feet. That's what we're going to be talking about tonight. And look, tonight I'm joined by a world-class panel. Of course, it's my brethren right there, so Mystic Sensation, the man who come prepared, the man who have, I mean, when him come, him no guess and spell. I don't know that. I don't know him, see how man, wifey work out them things, Lady Anne Marie. I mean, when them come prepared. Them don't follow headlines, and I just love his program. Them don't follow headlines, them make headlines like what we do over here. So big up yourself, Mystic, and we're gonna be joined by Mr. Vumvavi later on, Mr. Jeffrey Tavares, and we Dr. Devon Taylor, he's on his way. We have Rose Binder, she's joining us from Germany, and we have Jamaicans. So we have a world-class panel tonight to end the convention. So, I mean, like we just start out by, while we wait for the people to come. And we know, and by the way, people, some of the folks will have to leave early. Like I know Mystic, he has a prior, and we just want to thank him because he has a prior commitment, and he's a squeeze out some time for you and things like that, and we greatly appreciate it because his insight is always spot on and welcome. So, Mystic, one big you up. Welcome, 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 welcome. You need to come another Kanye more often, you know, man.
Well, well, blessings, Brother Ratigan. Right, trust me, I feel, the privilege to be here, right, and know that this is very much an informative platform. And of course, like myself, when you put out your stuff, right, those are stuff that well researched. And bottom line, you are here in this space to edify our Jamaican people. It's an awesome thing to always tune into a Ratigan. And as I said, in terms of your platform, a university, right, that capture, right, the minds of people and, try in some instances, create a paradigm shift, right, as it relates to the politics and so forth. And you are in the space, and we are happy that you are in the space, right, to educate, right? So I am here, Brother Ratti, to deliver accordingly. I'm at your service, sir.
All right. Well, we are at the people's service, you know what I mean?
All right.
Yeah. No, while we're waiting on the other folks to join us, we can talk about some of the things that have recently happened in Jamaica. Like I said, Jamaica is content rich. It is the gift that keeps on giving.
Yes.
Today I picked up the Integrity Commission's report on MP Andrew Wheatley, and I read it from cover to cover, and I'm going to read it again because we're going to do a thing on it on Saturday. And I know Mr. Gana, we have a difference of opinion when it comes to the commission, because they call the commission in certain places. Them say we are the commission, not the Integrity Commission. But I got a call today. I read it, and I got a call today from a friend of mine, and I say, I'm going to give them the integrity upon this one. Even though there are some shortcomings with the investigation. And a friend of mine from Jamaica called me. He read the report, and he said to me, no, you see the shortcomings, And I started laughing. And he and I started. We started discussing the shortcomings, and the shortcomings are there. Nevertheless, this is a good thing. It's a good thing that they have recommended prosecution. But keep in mind, it's only a recommendation. And the corruption prosecutor says that they're going to prosecute. We shall see what will happen. But one of the things I was kind of disappointed about is that they didn't know that MP Wheatley had property in America. He told them. And when I went through the report, I see where they didn't follow up on it. Because here's my thinking. If I were the commission, I would be looking overseas. Because some of these people, they're not going to keep their money in Jamaica. They're going to try and find a way to get it out. And the most likely place is right? Because of proximity and banking and all of that, it's easier for them to do that. And so every single one of them that I investigate, I would be touching base with the Egmont group through FID, or if I didn't want, well, actually, they don't have to go through FID to touch base with the Egmont group, because under the Integrity Commission Act of 2017, they can establish relationships with any foreign entity in terms of conducting an investigation. But I would do, that's what I would do for every single one of them. Now, when a man come and he's been hiding stuff all along, and him come and tell you, say, well, I have a house in Port St. Lucie, or 2 houses. Mystic, I'm not thinking that it's only 2. I'm thinking if this man wait until the last minute to tell me, him probably have about 3 or 4 or 5 all over the place, and I'd be looking. So, when I saw that, my mind just started race. And as we speak right now, I have some people looking into the name Andrew Wheatley to see what else, if anything else, he has in America. And if he has anything in the name Andrew Wheatley, we are going to find it. Before this program is finished, we're going to find it. They're working right now on it. So, but I give the commission credit still for for the work that they've done with him. And in fact, big them up. Yeah, so and also with the FLA, I give them some credit too, because one of the things they did, which was very, very creative, was when the buckshots were sold, 2,000, I think it's 6,000 were sold, and they used Kent's his computer to purchase the rounds when Kent's business place was closed on the day that the rounds were purchased. And then we found out that one of the purchasers died a month before the purchase was made. And the other two, one of them never have permits to go bird hunting. And that's one of the things that I was happy to see that the commission did, was that they went to NEPA to say, okay, did you give bird permits to these 3 people? Because if you buy bird shots, then obviously you want to shoot bird, especially with the number of rounds. So I see them doing some things, and you have to give credit where credit is due. So, and because I'm always bashing them when I find deficiencies, whenever I find that they're doing something, that's good, I have to give them the credit. And those 2 cases, yes. But here's something, Mystic, that I found kind of interesting. When I looked at the Prime Minister's case, statutory declaration case.
Yes.
And I look at Andrew Wheatley's case. The mirror.
Mm-hmm.
The mirror. It's the same charge. It's knowingly providing false information. It's refusing to cooperate and provide information. And it's illicit enrichment.
Yes.
And I'm looking at them and I'm going, well, why is it that they didn't just go ahead and in fact they did. The information and the information unit, information and complaints unit of the Integrity Commission, they recommended prosecution of the Prime Minister. I think at the time it was Keisha Prince or whatever her name is, that
Yes.
lady, the one who doesn't.
Keisha Prince Kamika.
Kamika, right.
Keisha.
Yeah, she not prosecute nobody at all. So that prosecution did not take place. So that's where we are. But give me your take on it.
Okay. First, I want to, speak pertaining to the Integrity Commission investigators, right? And I want to applaud them as it relates to this particular investigation. Now, one of the first things that we have to consider, Brother Ratty, is that the Integrity Commission investigators team sort of incapacitated as it relates to the skeleton staff. And that within itself, in terms of the administration, right, the JLP administration failed to properly fund the Integrity Commission team as it relates to, the adequate staff that ought to be there to carry out, that wide range of investigation. So obviously, as it relates to the skeleton staff. But I want to speak in terms of, certain policies that I am thinking it somewhat, limit, right, the Integrity Commission investigators. Because remember that the Integrity Commission investigators, Brother Rattigan, they cannot prosecute. They don't have a fiat to prosecute the Integrity Commission investigators. However, the Integrity Commission corruption prosecutor, she's the one who has the fiat, right, to prosecute. I believe that going forward as it relates to a change of administration should recognize the vulnerability as it relates to the Integrity Commission investigators don't have the fiat to prosecute as it relates to the investigators. I'm not talking about the Integrity Commission. I'm talking about, right, the Integrity Commission investigators within the Integrity Commission. So I want people to get it. So we are paying, this is where I'm going. We are paying, millions of dollars to the Integrity Commission corruption prosecutor. Why not just cancel that and draft policy in terms of giving the Integrity Commission investigators, right, the prosecutorial powers? Because let me tell you, in terms of the duplication of the process that I am seeing, the Integrity Commission investigators who investigate a particular case, right, and said, okay, all right, I believe that based on the findings, right, this look like something that can be prosecuted based on the evidence that we are looking at. And so then send that now to the corruption prosecutor, for the corruption prosecutor to again look over the evidence and fully agree that, okay, all right, yes, this is prosecutable. And she proceed to put that in court. We are saying that if you give the powers, the impetus, right, to the Integrity Commission investigators, right, we wouldn't need have to pay an extra budget for the Integrity Commission, the corruption prosecutor. They would have the sole responsibility, right, of take the case into court and make the judge made a judgment right then and there. Now, if you want to target corruption, you have to do, particularly in terms of what Singapore done, right? Singapore, as it relates to their anti-corruption system, has enabled their investigators to prosecute the case, right, by just taking the case into court. So I think that's the vulnerability, right, that, need to fix, need to address if we are serious in terms of fighting corruption. Now, let me go to the question in terms of, right, the parallel track as it relates to Andrew Wheatley, and Andrew Michael Owners. It seems like Andrew them a problem in Ratty. You see the commonality there? Seems like Andrew them a problem. Now, it is actually, as I said, mirror in terms of illicit enrichment, right? In terms of, false information, right? Because also, Andrew Owners provide false information to the Integrity Commission investigators as well, right? And so then when you look at that, and again, if you look in terms of the window, you realize that 2018 is a very significant year. And why you think that 2018 would be significant, Ratty? If you realize, that 2018 was the Petrojam scandal. If you remember that, right? And to me, looking at certain things and the amount of money that flowing, you understand, as it relates to Andrew Wheatley, right? It seems like some of that money, right, if thoroughly investigated, right, would have been be a part and parcel, right, of illicit enrichment that cannot be explained where that is concerned. And so then, it is quite interesting. Now, if you look at that, as it relates to the Petrojam scandal, Andrew Wheatley could have not gotten away with certain things just by himself. When you look at the scope of the situation with Petrojam scandal, if you look at the scope, the wide scope, right? And I do believe, right, not having any evidence, that Andrew Owners would have some level of awareness, right, of wrongdoing and culpability where that situation is concerned. And I think, right, you know, I am seen more like they are partners in crime. We know that the possibility of interrogation and deep dive interrogation with, you know, Mr. Wheatley could pretty much reveal telling things that connected, let me be careful now, that connected to other members of parliament, right? Now we have seen certain, as it relates to, you know, shell companies, right, with Mr. Wheatley. And the question that I'm asking, as it relates to if investigation, right, pursue as it relates to, did the government award contract to Wheatley, right? So all these are matters of concern that you need to have some probity on, right, where that is concerned. But to me, we have to fix our anti-corruption system, right, as it relates to empowering our Integrity Commission investigators to give them the prosecutorial powers, right, so that they can investigate and prosecute. And I believe that if the Integrity Commission investigators, right, I mean, I'm not going to see that in an Andrew Holness administration. You know that, Ratty. That is not going to happen in an Andrew Holness administration.
Right.
But we are speaking this for the record to say that, right, with the Mark Golden administration, when that formed, right, Mark Golden should just look at that and realize that this is a really serious vulnerability with the Integrity Commission investigators, right, concerned in terms of not having that fiat to prosecute, you know. So what do you think of that?
Well, here's the thing. Investigators are not lawyers, and being a lawyer is a highly technical profession, in the sense that how do you there's a certain skill set involved in presenting evidence. I've seen cases lost because the evidence wasn't properly presented.
Hold on, just let me just remind you something, because also, you know, right, remember that the police officer, right, charge you understand, and take you straight to the court.
Yeah, but they don't prosecute the case though. It's a DPP will prosecute the case.
Yes.
They will charge you, but when it comes to presenting the evidence before a judge, it is the DPP who's going to lead
to present that evidence. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And that's why I have a different view with the investigators, because here's the thing. They need a lot of training in addition to additional personnel, because when I look at, and I'm looking at it from the FBI's perspective, when I look at the way they've collected evidence, the way they've used intelligence, the way they've analyzed information, the way they've converted information into intelligence, and the ways that they haven't, it leads me to believe that we can't have these people going up against seasoned defense attorneys like a Champagne, for example, who's going to look at every single thing to make sure every I was dotted and every T was crossed. So if that is going to happen, first thing is that you'd have to have investigators / lawyers. They'd have to be lawyers if they're going to present the case in court, not just collect the evidence, but to present it in front of a judge and to convince a judge or a jury that the person that's charged is guilty. That takes a certain skill set. And if you notice, I didn't say it takes a certain intelligence, because you can't do it. It's just the training. So I'm saying if you're going to do that, then you have to make sure that these people are trained. And right now, they need a lot of training to be consistently good investigators, because I've seen a pattern on practice of deficiencies. And the investigators, part of it is that they might be overworked, they're understaffed, but be that as it may, when I look at their work product, I see a lot of deficiencies that if I were the supervisor, put it this way, when I was in the FBI, if an investigator brought that to me, that investigator would immediately get a training agent, somebody to shadow them and say, no, this is how you do it. This is how you write it. I mean, they're writing atrocious where they write stuff. If I were a defense attorney in Jamaica, and I've said it many, many times, none of my clients would be found guilty based on the Integrity Commission's reports, the way they have written them, and also their policies. Because here's one of the things, and we talked about this a lot. You cannot have somebody where you have adverse findings, but you're not going to prosecute the person, and you invite the person in and you tell them about the investigation. If you have adverse findings against somebody, to me, that person is still a suspect. And you may find evidence 2 months down the road, 3 months down the road. What are you going to do with it? No, you already tell this person exactly what you have on them. And the clearest case is Dunstan Bryan in the Market Me case. When they invited him, said, look, we have adverse findings, but we're not going to prosecute anyone in this case. But you can come in, we'll talk to you about our investigation, and then you can leave a statement if you feel like with us. And one of the first things Dunstan Bryan did in his statement, he said, I want to thank the Integrity Commission for sharing their investigative findings, sharing all of these things with me before going to the Parliament or the public.
That should have never happened.
That makes no sense to me.
Yeah, that should have never happened.
No sense. If you have something against somebody, but you don't have enough to prosecute them, you hold it. You know many times the FBI, we take cases to the prosecutor, and the prosecutor said, no, we don't have enough here. And we say, okay, fine, we'll just continue. And these investigations, they go on for years until you get that piece of evidence that the prosecutor, because in the American system, it's the prosecutor who makes the decision that we are going to prosecute. And also the prosecutor works hand in glove with the investigators from the beginning of the case. Not like Jamaica where they do it at, somewhere down the middle and the end. And then you have all kinds of problems and you can't correct those problems. Over here, they said, once you do a preliminary investigation and you say there's probable cause that or there's a likelihood that this person is involved with this type of criminal activity, and your supervisor signs off on it. And then the next thing you do, you run over to the prosecutor's office and say, look, I've got this case. What do I need to prosecute? And the prosecutor will look at it and say, okay, you're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because I'm the one doing the presentation. You're the one providing the evidence. You're collecting the evidence. You're preserving the evidence, but I'm the one presenting the evidence. So you need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So go get that, touch base with me, and let's continue our relationship. And that's how it works. So I would...
Well, hold on, in terms of what I suggested, I'm just asking, would you believe that that would be a more robust, right, anti-corruption system?
Yeah, yes. If they get the training, but here's the problem now. Here's the problem. You don't want your prosecutor being cross-examined. And if your prosecutor is your investigator, guess what they do with investigators? They put them on the stand to show that they collected the evidence improperly, they coerced a witness, they fabricated a statement, they do all of these things. You don't want your lawyer, who is also the investigator, be called and say, take the stand, mister. Now you're going to put on your investigator hat. We're going to question you now as an investigator, and then have that same person prosecuting the case. Therein lies the problem. You cannot have your investigator as a prosecutor and have him go take the stand. You mash up the case, right? That's all. Because now a good attorney can show bias, can show that, look, you were blinded because you didn't look at it as an independent prosecutor. You were blinded by your role as an investigator.
Well, do you think that would goes to his level of skill set? And if he has the potent skill set, he would be able to deliver?
Yeah, but here's the thing. You still don't want that, because here's the thing. When you put that when you have a person who's a prosecutor or an investigator / prosecutor, right? The person who's collecting, preserving, analyzing the evidence, and then as a prosecutor is going to present the evidence. That person is subject to being cross-examined wearing the investigator's hat. The question then is, who's going to represent that person when they go up there on the stand? Who's going to represent that person now to say objection and start?
All right.
Go ahead.
Because this is where we are looking at, Brother Ratty, right? As it relates to that critical area of the anti-corruption system. We have to have the persons with the required skill set, right? Because this is going to make now the fine line as it relates to the a solid prosecution. You understand? I heard what you're saying, right? I'm following you. But, you know, when it comes to marshalling, right, the investigation and marshalling the prosecution, because again, you know, say you have that, right? And it would be a dual purpose serve in terms of minimizing your budget span, because you're not paying a corrupt, you're not paying a corruption.
Gentlemen, go ahead.
You're not paying a corruption prosecutor, right? That again now will, you know, give some extension to the budget, give you room, or give room in your budget. You understand? To, you know, make certain things becomes more effective. I think that would be a more robust.
Well, here's the thing. I'm telling you, Mystic. Here's the thing. Yeah. It's not going to happen because you know why? You cannot have your investigator being cross-examined. Your investigator, who's also the prosecutor, be cross-examined. Because I'm telling you, a good defense attorney, get that person up there. Oh man, it'll be a field day. It's going to be a field day. So what I would suggest is this. I would suggest a closer relationship between the investigators and the prosecutors within the Integrity Commission to say, listen, we're not going to wait until we have done all of this investigation and then refer it to you and then have you look at it, because there might be problems that could have been resolved if we had a relationship in the beginning, but now cannot be resolved legally. So what I would do is the moment they say, for example, we're going to investigate Mr. Wheatley, that the prosecutor jumps on board with the investigator and says, okay, here are the things I'm going to need to prosecute this case, and then work hand in glove seamlessly with that person. And that way there is a distinct demarcation line between them. So the only person who's going to be cross-examined is not the attorney, it is the investigator. And then because they've been working for so long, the prosecutor now knows the ins and outs of the cases. So when certain questions are being asked, you can raise your objections. And you can actually come up with a strategy to take the case in a certain direction. But if you are the prosecutor and the investigator at the same time, I can see a huge problem. You need to have that demarcation line.
Brother Ratty, in terms of what you just said, because that is also the role of the DPP, particularly when you're talking about high-profile cases, that the DPP and the investigator, particularly when it comes to said investigation of government employees, that they're supposed to work at the hip, hand in hand. And so then whatever the investigation gathered, right, and the DPP looking at it, right, in terms of working together, right, that sort of cohesion effort would more putting a case together that is much more solid, right, to be prosecuted. But when you have the DPP, right, sort of separate and not working, right, in tandem with that investigator, we have a problem. Let me give you one particular case that I am making reference to. If you remember the Assistant Commissioner Green case investigating some threat, right, where this member of parliament, James Roberts, you remember that case, Brother Ratty?
I do.
And where Green wanted the DPP, right, to work together, him and the DPP work together in prosecuting James Robertson, but it seems that the DPP took away herself from that, right, and leave Green on her own. So the DPP is saying that, okay, then if Green did have the evidence, why Green did not prosecute, right? And while Green is saying, well, I mean, I need cover from the from the DPP.
All right. Let me talk briefly on that case.
Yes.
Briefly on that case.
Yes.
I've seen the file. I know where the file is. That
Okay.
particular, the Green and the DPP. Let me just leave it at that. I've seen the case. I've
Okay.
seen, and I know
Okay.
where it's
All
at.
right.
But listen, all right, I'm going to stop it right there because here I know everybody pressed for time, and I know you pressed for time, Mystic, and I know
Yes.
my brethren right there, so Devon pressed for time. Jeffrey Tavares, he's not pressed for time. So here's what we're going to know. We want to talk about this beach access, and let me just introduce the subject this way. Today marks the end of the Global Jamaica Diaspora Biennial Conference in Montego Bay, Jamaica. And people are, the attendees, and by the way, they said that it was sold out. It wasn't, it wasn't sold out. It wasn't sold out. And we have the videos to prove it. What happened is that, and I'm trying to see if I can find, oh, where it is. Hold on one second. All right, this is what, thanks to Kevin, because we know Kevin can't go back to Jamaica. So we know him can't go back. So Jeffrey can't go either. So but they put out something, you know, and I'm hearing that there was a glitch in the system, and so it looked as if they were fully booked out, but they weren't fully booked out. So they put this thing out. They put this out. They said we are sold out, right? And then we said no. You have sold out. All of you people who went there, you sell out the people at Jamaica. And here's why this is so appropriate. This is appropriate because they're going to enjoy the beach now. They're going to enjoy the rivers and the streams because they have free time now. Conference over. But I want them to think, those of you watching the program in Jamaica for the conference and you're watching this program, and I know many of you are, think about the disservice that is. Think about the insult that is. The fact that you can now go enjoy the beach, but your brothers and sisters, your family members down there, them can't go near that beach. Cannot go near that beach. And here it is that we've been fighting. And when I say we've been fighting, Jabem is leading the charge against the government so that people can have access to all beaches, not some beaches, all beaches, because it's our national heritage. It's our right to do this thing. Pack up your family, have a picnic on the beach, but it's not happening. And we know why, because big money is involved. And it is such a crying shame that Jamaica, I think, is probably one, if not the only Caribbean island where people can actually have private beaches where them can build them houses on the beachfront, and you dare not walk on it. Whereas in places like Barbados, they said, no, you can build your beachfront home, you know, you can build a hotel, but you see the foreshore and the water, that's exactly. People, you can't stop them. So that's how I'd like to introduce the subject, that we have Jamaicans who went down there and they're now enjoying the beach, our beaches, and some of their own family members living in Jamaica can't access it. So I'd like to bring in the man, well, the organization that's been spearheading the fight is Jabem, but this is the face of Jabem. And I'm proud to say he's a brethren of mine. And whenever we call on him, he's always there. And he's leading the charge. When I say leading the charge, he's not just protesting. He has the government in court. And not just one beach issue, or two beach issues, or three, many beach issues. So, without further ado, Dr. Devon Taylor, welcome to the program again, my brother. Talk to us. You can't hear me, Devon?
Yeah, man. Greetings. Good. Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
You hearing me?
Loud and clear. Loud.
Yeah, man. Give thanks. Yeah, this is a good space where we'll have some really good conversation and from an objective perspective, because I think there's something that the political class have afforded to do to Jamaica since 1962. We come out of emancipation and we should have been a united people. People united around self-determination. That was what Marcus Garvey really tried to do when Marcus Garvey formed his full international organization to deal with the emancipation and the liberation of Black people, right? His work that was seen, across the planet, and that work was also been done by many luminaries within Africa, including the spiritual, nucleus of Rastafari, Emperor Haile Selassie, right? That a people who's divided cannot move forward. So, and I moved into emancipated Jamaica, only for Jamaica in the 60s to gain political independence. But that political independence seeded division among Jamaican people, where two political parties started from such time, from 62, to condition the mind of the Jamaican people to interpret themselves either through the lens of PNP and GLP. And that has done something to the mind and the consciousness of the Jamaican people, where our ability to move, in solidarity with each other, right, have not been happening. So we move only through political lens. And that's a very dangerous thing to do for a people who, are the descendants of enslaved Africans who suffer from 400 years of being divided. And so we see, right, the continued division by the political class as being an enemy of what we want, which is liberation and freedom. And I say that to say this: the Beach Control Act of 1956, right, was passed in response to I people, right, rebelling against dispossession from beaches. So this whole fight around beaches is nothing new. It comes right before political independence, where fishers were losing the rights to land and the rights to access beaches. Yeah, that was the reality on the ground. What was also the reality on the ground within the 60s, when we have what we know now as Bad Friday within Rastafari space, when one political class identify Rastas, right, as ones who were nuisance to society and target them for death. So there was a genocide, right, against Rastafari, right? And that genocide was targeted upon Rasta because they wanted the lands that were now known as the Rose Hall Estate for tourism development. So we see the atrocity, right, that manifests itself in the 60s, right? And before the 60s, right, we see it, in 1956. And so the Beach Control Act was shepherded in by then Norman Washington Manley, who was a PMP, right? That never give Jamaica no rights to beaches, no rights to fish, no rights to walk along the foreshore, right? No rights to bathe and no rights to swim. That was codified into law. Then in 62, what we see, Buster them, Matty, right? Also now point out Rasta for genocide because they wanted the lands in Rose Hall to expand tourism product. What we have witnessed from such time into this time, since that law exists, 70-year-old law, no political organization has ever, right, tried to repeal it, to replace it, and to bring in a legislation that is of the people, for the people, by the people, that gives us rights to the land. Don't happen. So I want to frame the situation right now, because what we're seeing happening in the diaspora context here, I don't want anybody to get any idea that we are for one side of a people or the other side of a people. I deal with unity. What we see as the problem, the colonized mind, right? And the constant, right, mission of political parties to divide and rule the people so we never get what we want. which is empowerment, self-determination, liberation, and seed for our humanity. So we can make the money too. We can enjoy the space. And that is not what is happening. So when the government takes, this portfolio of diaspora on its wing, and this conference, that beach access part of it today, Jabem never get an invite to the conference, right? So we were not asked to, our view objectively on the table. So I don't know what was discussed there today, and I can't comment on it. What I can comment on is the liberty of the Jamaican people, because I'm a coastal youth, born and grew up in a state town and using a beach for more than 100 years and can no longer go on it, right? And what was that to happen is the Beach Control Act of 1950, right? And through several political administration, the maintenance of this piece of legislation, where 35% of the GDP of Jamaica is based in coastal spaces, and most people on this coast are still impoverished and poor. And we are witnessing the development, the expansion of plantation tourism, right? Getting out of mass resorts, both international investors and local investors benefiting off the space, and the Jamaican people are being displaced. So I really want the argument to be centered around the violence against the Jamaican people as it relates to dispossession and the lack of rights to the land, that we need to access the beaches. And that must be very fundamentally clear, because if the conversation descends into what one political party will do, but one will not, right? I can tell you that both political parties are complicit in the dispossession of the Jamaican people from beaches. And so I pick no side who are better suited to lead us. We will have to lead ourselves in this one. And it can be done. And it's something that we are figuring out. And we are willing to partner with anyone who can help us think how we move for changing the society for the betterment of all Jamaican people. So we can't start dissect this thing right now. But let's leave the partisan politics on its side and look at the legislation, right? And how the legislation perpetuates the vestiges of colonialism that continues, right, to oppress the Jamaican people.
Let me before I bring in Mystic, before
the struggle there, my general.
Right.
Who not own land in Jamaica.
Before there's a delay, but before I bring in Mystic and Jeffrey and Jamaicans, let me since we're talking about legislation, let me take you back a little bit and have you talk about the Prescription Act of 1882, because one of the things we're talking about is land rights. And you mentioned it a while ago, say it's not just the beach, you have to have access to get to the beach. So take us back to the Prescription Act of 1882 and give us a synopsis, just a synopsis of where Jabem is in court regarding the prescription right and the Beach Control Act of 1957. And then I'll open it up for discussion.
Yes. So as I said, the Beach Control Act is the coastal legislation that really regulates the use of beaches across Jamaica. It is the piece of legislation that tells you what right you have and what you don't. So Section 3, Part 4 basically says no one have any right in or over the foreshore of the island or the floor of the sea, right? It gives people who own land that adjacent the sea the rights to use and enjoy those spaces. It further codifies the 494 miles around the coastline as property of the state, right? So the beach, the foreshore, and the floor of the sea is vested in the state, right? Vested in the crown. and the crown is the beneficiary of all that is at the coast. Now we know the political arrangement of Jamaica, that the executive branch basically administered on behalf of the crown, right? There is a minister who sits for the of 1956, right? Because that minister is the head of NRCA, right? And that NRCA is the regulatory body of the Beach Control Act. Andrew Holness, right? He is the head of it, right? Now, the framework of the policy creates this licensing regime of the coastline, where the coastline, if you want to establish, hotel and you have a private beach, you apply for a beach license. NEPA grants you that license, and then on a certain stipulated condition, you control that space. That beach license can tell you who you can come there, how many people can be in the space, or you can dress on the space. So it dictates the behavior, numbers, everything on the coastline. A licensing regime is what the Beach Control Act creates, right? The Beach Control Act does not give Jamaicans any inherent rights to the space. The right to bathe, to swim, to fish, for sure. None of that, right? So how does Jamaican people gain rights to the foreshore? Jamaican people gain rights to the foreshore through customs. The entire 494 miles around the country have been using it, right? All of us are Jamaicans. We grew up to play football. We grew up a cook. We grew up a go fish. We grew up go hunt. In the sea, collect seaweeds, right? We got baptized in the space. We meditate in the space. We jog in the space. We go there in the sunrise. Some of us goes there to worship our dead, because we know 12 million Africans come across on the Atlantic. Many of them died. The sea is basically a burying ground, so it spiritual connectivity. Us, most of us know that sea joy early morning, late evening. So it is more than just what people see as a beach. It's a part of our livity. It brings forth life, right? Lots of commerce happen there, carving, artistic work. How do we really gain rights to it? All that I have just described are customary uses to beaches. And we have been using those spaces since time immemorial, forever and ever. So the Prescription Act of 1882 says, if you've been using a track, a roadway, a lane to access a beach, right, you have gained the customary rights to continue to use it in perpetuity. But you must have the court codify and recognize that rights. So it is the only piece of legislation that gives you, go to the court and says, well, I've been using this beach for minimum of 20 years. And here comes somebody trying to kick me off or say, I don't have the right to be here. The court examines the fact that you present to them. And if you convince the court of those facts, then the court writes on the landowner title a covenant, right, that recognizes your right, and you have that right ever. And it's not just your right, but it's the right for all other Jamaicans. So we take, for example, the 5 beaches that we're fighting for. We have different people across the community, different sets of plaintiffs in the Blue Lagoon, in Miami Bay, in Little Duns River, in Providence Flanker. Bob puts himself up on behalf of the rest of Jamaica to say we're protecting the track and the roadway that leads to these beaches. And if they're victorious, the entire Jamaica and across the world can use those beaches and those rivers in a very safe way. Right. That's what the Prescription Act of 1882, right, does, right, in contradiction to what the Beach Control Act does as a dispossessive piece of legislation, right? This Prescription Act allows you to codify your customary right, okay? And we know that we have customary right to the whole 494 across the country.
All right.
Problem here, I don't see a connectivity issue dealing with, but get that.
Yeah, we have a connectivity issue. All right, let me jump to Mystic because I know Mystic has to leave shortly.
Yeah. All right. As it relates to what Jamben said a while ago, relating to 5 beaches that he's in pursuit of as it relates to beach access, right? But when I'm looking at this, what's the name again, Michael?
Devon.
When I'm looking on this, Devon, right? I am seeing that, all right, Parliament, right, responsible to formulate legislations, pass laws, and so forth and so forth. And I think you are fighting the battle in terms of saying that, okay, all right, you don't want to be seen through the lens of a PNP, or you don't want to see through the lens of a GLP, right? And that's fine, because you're saying that, okay, you don't want to get caught up and tied up in the politics. And so then you're pursuing, right, the track to go directly to the court. But if you have, as according to what you said, that the beach access law doesn't give you or give Jamaican, as according to what you said, rights, right? Now, in terms of your own words, right? Now, having that stated to your interpretation, right? Is the court is going to go against that, because I am saying that at the end of the day, right, you still have to channel a political process. Regardless of how you put it, you still have to channel a political process in the sense that, okay, you want laws to be amended then, based on my interpretation. And so then for those laws to be amended, it has to go through Parliament. It has to go through Parliament. So then I don't understand, where does it lie as it relates to what are you going to achieve, right, if Parliament don't amend those laws? Because remember, you are saying that the laws, right, don't give access. Right? And I'm saying that, okay, all right, you are pursuing this in terms of seeking amendment to set that right. So then the question, this situation has to be challenged politically. This is where I'm going. That regardless in terms of what you're saying, that, okay, you're not dealing with this and you're not dealing with that, and you want to walk right through, right in between them, right? I am just asking how that amendment is going to be done without the political involvement. That is the question I'm asking. So if you can answer us, then go ahead and answer.
I delayed.
I mean, it's been, the line is horrible, bro. I mean, and so it's not coherent. But if I hear what you see, I don't subscribe to the view that one has to align themselves with a political party in order for a political resolution on behalf of the people.
No, hold on, Devon,
what you must understand as well, I'm not telling you that this fight is not political.
Hold on, I did not say,
that this fight is not.
You need to correct him right then and there, because it seems like he's giving the perception that I am saying that he has to align with a political party. That is not what I'm saying. I have never said that he has to align. So I think that he's misinterpreting me there. I did not say that.
All right. Clarify then for him.
What I am saying, right, asking him to explain to us, you understand, in terms of amending the law, which other area that he's going to utilize without, you understand, Parliament being engaged. That is what I'm asking him.
Hold on, before Devon come in, I think what Devon is saying is that he's not trying to escape the political reality. But remember what he said. He said in court, the judge can put on the title, can create an easement in the owner's title. And this has nothing to do with politics now. This is the judge making a decision that I am going to put on the title, that you have to create an easement so that people can.
That is understandable.
That's one. The second one, I think, is that at some point in time, he's saying, yes, they have to change the law. They have to change the Beach Control Act.
Exactly.
But you know what? I don't want to speak for him. Devon, that's what I think he's saying. But he's here, so he can actually speak.
Speak and clarify that, Devon.
Yeah, but I just wish this was happening in a very smooth way. But listen,
you want to come out? Devon, you want?
If I get you incorrect,
log off, come back. You want log off and return? Try that.
Yeah, let me try that. Yes, let me try that.
In the meantime,
if I may say something here.
Hold on a second. Jamaicans. Jeffrey Tavares, go ahead, sir.
Hold on for me. If I understand what Dr. Taylor is trying to say, if they take this to the court of Jamaica, the court is the supreme decision maker of the land. Apart from the parliament, you keep on hearing these idiots in the parliament saying that the parliament is a final court of the land. No, go so. The Supreme Court is a final court of the land. So if they go through the court,
it's blocked by a computer, you're up top still. You know?
Yeah, Jeffrey.
If they go through the court and the court handed down a judgment that the Act of 1882, subsection Tira and subsection Nira.
1951. You mean the Act of 1951?
Yes, the Act of 1951, yes.
Yeah,
amended, I need to amend
1956 Beach Control Act, and we're talking about the prescriptive right Act of 1882.
Yeah.
So there's two that were, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so
if two different pieces of legislation.
Okay, so if the court handed down that certain things has to be amended, then the parliament has to abide by the court. Isn't that so?
Yeah, but here's the thing. Here's the thing that we can't forget. What does a court do? Let's go back to fundamentals now.
Court interpret laws.
Interpret laws.
That's what court does.
The legislature, they make laws.
Exactly.
Right? So what Dr. Taylor is saying is, listen, let them interpret the Prescription Act to say, if you've been using this piece of beach here for more than 20 years, and you can prove, go ahead, Jamaicans.
All right, thank you and good evening to all. And when we gave the historical context, it is very important, right? Because Marcus Garvey said a tree with a people without a knowledge of the past, heritage, history, and culture is like a tree without root. So the reason why we went back into the past is to show where the separation of the people and the land is coming from. So the legislation of 1956 Beach Control Act that said that no Jamaican have the right to the in or over the foreshore of the sea or the floor, right? It means that both political parties has taken part in crafting this legislation and also maintain it into today's day, 2026, right? So what we have to be using is the 1882 Prescriptive Right Act that says that once there is a path that the people of the community been using for over 20 years, then they have the right to remain. So what we're simply saying that we're coming from a perspective that we're owners, employers, and financiers, not a political party supporter, whether it be PNP or GLP, because we have seen that the problem exists from 1956 and it includes both political party. And we are now in a time when they said that they're going to amend it, right? And it was never for the betterment of the people. So bring us to today's date when we have the new beach control access management policy. This was coined to be something that is going to revolutionize the access for beaches for Jamaican people. And again, we stick on the people of Jamaica, because when we go into spaces, it's about people being displaced and not a political set of people that are going to be displaced. So we keep the fight of preserving our heritage and culture, and that choose no political party. And that is what Jabem is about driving the cause of the Jamaican people. And we will stand resolute for that. And we are using the court, right, to ensure that we're shoring the people's access to the beach. And Dr. Taylor is back.
Hold on, Jamaica.
Hold on a second, Mystic. Let me just bring back in Devon Taylor. And
Yes.
I just ask Dr. Taylor this one question. And this one question will answer, it will focus on the question that you asked. And Semuka for real ask it. Can any party fix this problem? Dr. Taylor, floor is yours.
The fix is the people. The politician move to the will of the people. We see that they move against people when people were not fully mobilized in 56. We see that in order for change to happen, we often know, so we have to get up and advocate for the changes that we, the people, want, because the political interests always cede to the capital interest. You must hear, you see, we are birthed a different kind of consciousness as to how we move. And I'll say to my brother Mystic, absolutely, the political class will have to sign the legislation. But the determination of what that legislation look like is determined by the people. It's not so Jamaica run. No. Politicians determine what they think is in the best interest of the people. So in order for us to truly move in a liberated, democratic, right, in a emancipated way, just as our slavery was abolished, was not the willingness of England to abolish slavery. It was the rebellions on the plantation. So we are rebel, my general. We are rebel against the ruling class for what we want. And if we not center that movement in ourselves as we rebel against the system of oppression that tell us that we're unworthy to bathe, to fish, to swim, and to walk along the foreshore, as the people, we will not get what we want, because the alignment politically have shown us that something sits on the book for 70 years, and both political party has had some of the brightest mind, some of the minds that we think were the most liberated and rebellious, but they never changed that piece of legislation. In fact, in 1972, the then Prime Minister P.J. Patterson also said that we must do everything in our power to move in the interest of tourism, and they never changed the fundamentals of the law. We have seen hotel built on a boat administration displace communities. Now we are seeing that they're moving to privatize the sea. We have seen these first overwater bungalow built under one administration, more built under the other. So why I'm trying to center us in ourselves to move forward is that because history is our alibi and has taught us that is when the people are united around a fight, a cause, and see the end result in the benefit of the people, then the political class act in the interest of the people. Right now, we're not united and we're not ready. And so we are build the consciousness, and it's a political consciousness. It's a decolonization movement. When in 1865, when Paul Bogler moved, and when Jean Sharper moved, how were they moving? Moving against an established government, not picking any sides. They had to know that if we don't center this thing in the people, then it becomes partisan political thing on the politician them side. So yes, they will sign the legislation, but we will determine what they signed. Because let's take, for example, when I came back, Jamaica did a talk about the new beach policy. And when you look at the new beach policy, it's not different from the old beach policy. And if that is allowed to pass, they will be allowed to sell beaches. They're not changing the thing from no rights. They're moving to what they call qualified rights, conditional rights, rights that are based on a license that tells you how many of you can go there, how you dress, and how you behave. 3 tools that were plucked off the plantation as to how they control black bodies. And that's what they say, you have to meet those conditions in order to have the privilege to use that beach. They went on further to say what? They are going to privatize the sea. They're going to codify that big swaths of the sea can be used to build hotel. They went further and they says, because Jamaica is only 150 miles of technical sand, most of the coastline is rocky, they will be able to build artificial beaches. And when they build them, they will be divested and Jamaicans will have no rights to them. They went on further and they say you will have to pay hotel to use the beaches before hotel, which is most of the North Coast. So when you're looking at the policy, you see that they are perpetuating and deepening the colonial logic of dispossession. And so, my brethren, the only way we move is if we unite and tell them what we want and move on it, and that's what we get, or we get what we want.
All right, let me speak to Devon, right, as it relates to that clarification, right? And I do agree with you. So let me just say it off the bat, right, in terms of everything what you're saying, right, relating to the 1956 Beach Act, deny, right, access to the beach as it relates to where we are concerned. You're 100% right. And I do agree as it relates to the prescriptive act that you are now going to use as it relates to the court, for the court now to make a decision on where, right, the parliamentarians can take it from there in terms of making amendment to the 1956 Act.
That thing they can't amend, my brethren. That thing they need to dump and throw at the bottom of the sea, never to be seen.
Okay, well, all right. Let me use what you said. Dump it.
Abolish, brethren. Abolish it.
So what I am saying here, I am 100% in alignment with you. You understand where that is concerned, right? But my query in terms of the question that I was asking, you understand that, okay, it has to, in terms of, you said dump, you used the word dump. In terms of dump, you understand the political decision as it relates to parliamentarians has to come from there. But I do agree in terms of everything what you're saying. I do agree also that we need to galvanize around the situation, right, for beach access. Because when you look on beach access in the Caribbean, right, we find that, everywhere in the Caribbean, Cayman, Nassau, and all of these places, and some of these persons that are denying us access, Devon, let me say that. You understand? I think we know the people who are denying us access. I just want to leave it there. I don't want to really call out names.
But you should, my brother.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Since you want to go
right now, okay. And before you say what you said,
yes.
You see, Jamaica is a highly classist society.
Okay, all right. Let me go there.
There's a big man there, Jamaica. I'm not call the name because I don't want you to open up yourself to any liableness. So it's your opinion. So make sure it's backed up by fact. Okay, but if there's a name to be called by somebody who's guilty, then put it in context.
All right, let me say this categorically clear, right? And this is one of the reasons why, right, I love your mission. Your mission is 100% precise in terms of fighting, advocating for beach access. There's no way, right, a Mystic Sensation is going to go against, you understand, that Jabem movement. You understand? So I'm on board, where that is concerned. It is a sad thing, let me say that, spanning over, the two administration, that beach access wasn't looked on, right, and be dealt with, right, in terms of providing access. So now, let me say what I am going to say. When we have, a Brian Jordan, and you have these people control and spread off and have control over the government, that is going to be extremely difficult as it relates to the politics. Now, this is where Jamaican people have to come in, right? Because at the end of the day, we have seen time and time again, when it comes to near politics, right, that beach access being promised, but never delivered. And at the same time, you have seen where certain set of people, right, where the government look forward to them to give them, you understand, luscious lands and beach spaces, and they take up all over that. When you look on the Sandals chain, the Sandals chain spread a lot over, cover, take over beach access, right? The hotel industry, right? The 9, right? But again, they are funders, they are big funders of the political process. So I couldn't, as it relates to job them pushing for this, as it relates to what we're looking for the name on Jamaicans, right? Pushing, advocating, right? I am going to agree with them. I am going to be on the line as it relates to beach access, because beach access, right? We should, as a matter of fact, we shouldn't in this stage and time fighting to get beach access. To be honest,
Yeah,
it should be that we have, people, and here's the thing now, Devon. You're one of the things that I'm upset with, very much upset with. I am very much upset that when we look at a Boostwood hotel chain, they cannot do it in St. Lucia, Sandals St. Lucia, Sandals Duns River. They can't do it there. They have to give beach access there. So I'm asking, Jabdem is asking, Jamaicans is asking, right? All of us are asking, why, right, beach access being denied in Jamaica? So, I mean, our politicians have to get it right. We have to call a spade. They have to get it right, right? And, I am saying that, my platform is ready, you understand, to sensitize the issue as it relates to beach access, and Jamaicans need to galvanize, you understand, around, right, the mission, right? So, my brother, all I have to say that what you're saying, you're 100% correct, right? And we just need to galvanize as one movement. And of course, Mystic Sensation, you understand, will support you 100%.
If I may say, Mystic, one second before you come back in. Just to point out that denied access to our beaches is discrimination. Let me say it again. Denied access to our beach is discrimination, and that discrimination has been written in law from 1956 and been still present today's date in 2026. Who are the ones that allow it for so long? That is where we have to start from. I know that we will speak about, and you said, we shouldn't be talking about it in this time. Who are the ones affording us the opportunity to speak about it? And the culprits are the 2 employees of the Jamaican people, and we call them Jamaica Labour Party and the People's National Party. We have to start there, because we have to tell the people who are the boogeymen, who are the persons who write, well, guess what, use the whip of our slave masters through legislation still whipping us 2026. We have to talk that truth. When we speak about even just one hotel chain, I know that there are many. We have to think about the government allowing these hotel chains the opportunity to discriminate, further discriminate against the Jamaican people. You spoke about Sandals, and when you just to put into context, Sandals have over 23 different properties stretched across the Caribbean, 10 properties here in Jamaica. Sandals started in 1981, and here is the shocker. Staff in Sandals get paid the least in Jamaica, get paid the least, and get treated the worst.
True.
Right? You have Sandals Barbados, which is a tip-free, and it advertised as tip-free, right? As a Sandals product. But Sandals staff in Jamaica, when caught receiving tip, they will lose their jobs. So we are looking at hypocrisy, and we are looking at discrimination. And then it comes back, how do we govern the laws that take care of our staff? That is very, very important now. We look at the law from 1975, again, a piece of legislation that has blessed the eye of both political parties, and they did not change it to better the lives of Jamaican people. Yes, we can say where it came from the beginning. Michael Manley did create it. But what we also need to know that they created a legislation for people within that time. Things has changed. And we don't see our laws amended to respect and reflect the realities of today's date. So when we have the conversation, we must have conversation from the perspective of owners, employers, and financiers. Because when I go down to the beaches and engage with the beach community, right, I don't see any PMP or any JLP representative educating the people, informing to empower the people about the beach access management policies, as Dr. Taylor has said, about qualified rights for our own birthright, right? Qualified how you dress on the beach, how you behave, right? All of these things. How can you say that and there's no regulation to how foreigners come and utilize our product? So we're saying this is not a fight against any party or any hotelier. It is a fight to preserve our heritage and our culture, and that have to come through respect and dignity to who we are as a people. And we'll stand to be a catalyst for change for the people of Jamaica.
Let me add this piece here now. Let me pose this question to Jamaicans and Devon.
Yeah. Brother Ratty.
Yeah.
I'm cutting us. So.
No, you're wrong. Yeah. All right. Hey, look. Thanks for joining us, man. And we have to make this a regular feature. So
all right.
Take care of yourself.
So, of course, Jamaicans, Brother Devon Taylor. All right. Blessings. All right. Cool.
All right. All right. Let me pose this question to both of you. In the Beach Control Act of 1956, my recollection of it, and I haven't read it in quite a while, that there is a section in it that the minister, with the stroke of a pen, can change all the things that we're talking about.
The Prime Minister.
Why is it that? But let me put it to you like this: have you explored that option? And if you haven't explored that option, to say, look, let's add some pressure, let's get some people pressure, because I see in the chat people are saying, oh, on the talk, on the don't do anything, but people don't understand that Jabem is a pioneer in this field, because Jabem has not only protested, I've seen them protesting on numerous occasions, but Jabem has the government in court. And all I said to you people who are saying these things is, come join us. Don't criticize, join. That's all I'm saying to you. But getting back to this 1956 thing now, with the stroke of a pen that the minister can change this. Have you explored that possibility? Or is it something that you feel will never happen, even though it's there?
To have a campaign to have the government uses its power under the Beach Control Act, right? See, the Beach Control Act is such a discriminatory document that while he can do so on an interim basis to provide some redress to the dispossession, it's not the best way to do so. So we'd rather channel our energy in repeal and replacement of the legislation, because whatever the minister does can be reversed by another minister. So this prime minister could say, because it's clearly written inside there, an area that is a wetland, a mangrove, protected area, that prime minister or that minister who's the head of the Beach Control Act can says, okay, we're going to build in it and it's built on, right? Or we're going to open up these 5 acres of crown land, to open up more beach spaces for the Jamaican people. And then 5 years later, they're not the ruling political party, and the other minister who takes over the portfolio say, I'm going to reverse that, and reverses it. So there's no permanence and protection in it, because it allows for whichever the political party is to move how they see fit based upon external pressures, investors, right, or their kind of political philosophy, right? If they are, as many of them are moving in neoliberal ways, they could move more right wing, whatever way they want to move, right? So the way how we prefer to, channel our energy is to galvanize the consciousness of the people that it needs to be a repeal and replacement of something that is rights-based.
And you know what? It's funny that you mentioned that. I'm here thinking about what I read a while back, and it clearly said that if the minister can sign off on it and say, all right, we're going to grant access to the beaches. But they said that if the hoteliers and the developers or whomever, they said no, the act specifically says the police commissioner, he steps in. Can you see the police commissioner telling Adam Stewart that, hey, you have to make the poor people in company?
That not gonna happen, and that will never happen.
I said to you, it's there, but it doesn't really satisfy the purpose. I agree with you, because first of all, even if he did it, it's not. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think any police commissioner is going to go down here and tell Adam Stewart that you have to let poor people come in and use your Sandals facility or the beach, that you have your multi-million-dollar property on. So repeal and replace is the way to go. But until then, you're using the prescriptive act to say, okay, we can show usage over a period of time. It's almost like adverse possession to some degree, that we've been using it for a while, and therefore we maintain the right to continue using it. Give us a sense of where the court cases are. Well, go ahead. Say what you want to say, and then you can address court cases.
Before you go to the court case, can I just quickly say something towards what Uncle Will said with somebody in the chat? And it is very, very important. They said that we're just talking. I have to bring you greetings from my humble residence down in the parish of Trelawney, where my folks on Charlotte Beach will feel offended if you say that whether Charlotte Beach or Half Moon Bay Beach or even all the way in Parity, if I may say, they will feel offended if they see comments like those. And I must say that through Jabem, we have been informing to empower the people about the new access management policy, about the NARA legislation. We have been, compartmentalizing and teaching people to create resistance through information and empowerment. Teaching them about how camaraderie is important, working together. We had beach cleanup at more than one beaches. First, we did a run in Manchineal all the way over in Portland, right? And we spend, well, Dr. Taylor don't like to talk about these things, but spend a lot of money not to public it, to put it in the public, but more so for the people to understand that the preservation of the ecological space and economic space is very important. And it also teach the kids that they need to protect and preserve their environment. After leaving Portland Manchineal, we went all the way down to Montego Bay flankers beach. We were there cleaning the beach as well, and also empowering the people there. And it's not about just a one-time clean, right? But about preservation of the space, teaching them how they are connected to that space from their heritage and their culture, that their ancestors' blood washed up on those shores. And after leaving Montego Bay, we went to Trelawney, where we have Bob Marley Foundation, Wake Up Jamaica, partner with us for a huge beach cleanup over there in Charlotte's Beach. So we are on the ground, we're doing what we need to do, and I'm learning each and every day. So that is a testament to what Jabem has been doing and continue to do. And we just ask for more collaboration, more support. Get engaged with your beach community. Ask them what we're, if they are not seeing us, if they're not there. And the last thing I must say, when you're going to hear people from the community is going to say that, me have me liar, right? And we are sue the government. Jabem make that possible. How much organization in Jamaica can ever say that they have been, they not just talk on the behalf, but them put the money, the time, the effort, because it means more than the clout. It means that heritage and culture is being preserved. So I would like to tell those in the comment section that.
Well said, well said, well said. Devon, talk to us now.
Yes, yes. Yeah, so you highlight, you mentioned something about it, almost like adverse possession, right? And we are actually using the adverse possession tool. Yo, more everybody knows, say, you know, as Chronic say, right? Jamaica capture land, right? When the Spanish arrived, they were the, you know, the Taino, right? And it was genocide. They killed them all off. And what did they do? They captured the land. And them go to war with Britain, and, you know, Britain take land from them, a capture land. So the whole Jamaica is a capture land. So when the government and other entity pose this issue, this problem, like say, you know, there's a newness to rights to land, right? Then we want to correct them that there was violence and murder and genocide happened in Jamaica, and that's how Europe took the land. And after emancipation, there was no land rights afforded to Jamaicans to rights to land. The crown keep all of the land and left us landless. So the fight of the Jamaican people and the rights to the beach is rooted in the rights to land. So when you says, well, getting the rights to these beaches, right, and being, you know, afforded the right to stay there through using Prescription Act of 1882, right? We are also using adverse possession law in order to make sure that the Jamaican people own these lands as well. And it might seem like some kind of a, you know, radical thing to do, but it has to be radical in the way how we regain the land we call Jamaica. Because if we lose all the coastline, then we're a landlocked nation. And then we are not independent. We don't have sovereignty if you don't control the lands of your coast to access the sea. So yes, we are moving in ways to shore up that 494 miles around the country is owned and controlled by the Jamaican people. So a concept which, you know, we have been discussing this with the Jamaica Environmental Trust, JET, that an article was written by Diana McCall and and Teresa Rodriguez, that moving the coastline to commons, and a common space is important in the preservation of the Jamaican people's rights to beaches. And that is what Jabem would term public land, that would like, you know, at least 200 feet or more above the high water mark to be public land, meaning that any Jamaicans can go there, walk, enjoy it, right? And areas that are ecologically sensitive or protected. And so the fight is one for the rights and the heritage of the land. And the fight is against this plantation tourism that is emerging along the coast. So that is in, you know, what the fight is about. The fight is to protect this piece of ecosystem that is important to a small island state and the survival of a small island state, right? That is how important beaches are. If many of us are students of science, know that life starts in the sea, and it is from the sea to the land that life emerged. So the sea and the land interface has always been one of the most important pieces of ecosystem to the survivability of the earth. The earth is more than 70% water. Most of it is the ocean. The ocean is the greatest absorber of carbon dioxide, right? I mean, it is the greenest space. I mean, it controls the temperature on the planet. And what we see happening at the coastline and the degradation, the removal of mangrove, it was very unfortunate the other day when the Minister of Environment says that, Jamaican, charcoal farmers are responsible for most of the destruction and the greatest threat to mangrove in Jamaica. That idea, I don't know where that came from, but I would indulge him to show us the statistics as to how they came about with that, and not the massive hotel development that has happened along the North Coast and continue to happen across the country. And you could just look at how many beach licenses are being granted to remove coastal forests, right? Look how much has been granted to remove mangrove. Look at what the government has also done to Kingstown and the Palisades in taking out those mangrove. Look at what the airport expansion and what the port expansion in Kingstown is doing in terms of ripping out mangroves, destroying this ecosystem to advance development that removes the people and destroy the environment. So, what's happening at the coastline, it also goes beyond access. It goes to the existential threat of a small island state called Jamaica in response to, global warming, right? We see Melissa and the scope of what Melissa did. And, the buffers that should have been there have been removed, right?
May I say something on the mangrove?
And before you say something there, I mean, if it is possible, I have a couple of slides that I would like to kind of put some things into context. If you'll indulge me to share,
you can share, yeah.
Okay, it's nothing that your viewers can't see, so we'll just tee it up, right? But Jamaicans, you could go on, and then I'll share after.
Yes, about the mangrove, just this morning I went on the beach speaking to one of the fisher folk there, right? And they were telling me they remember the diversity that was in the mangrove and the crabs that were there. And all of a sudden, the mangrove started dying out. And the crabs, they can't get no crabs there anymore. What about that cultural aspect of crab hunting? And when you look just next door to where the hotel is, when you look just next door to where the mangrove is, rather, there's a hotel. And when you look, there's wastewater is running into the sea. An elder told me when he used to work, you remember when he lived where Rio is right now. And he said he was working there. And he remember always do fishing on his time off. And he was there fishing one day and he just saw this massive cloud above him. And he was wondering what it is. So he tried to go up and he realized it was feces in the water. And he had to use his fish gun to clear it. So I'm saying to you, we're seeing displacement of the people, detaching of their heritage and culture, and polluting where the people must get their food from. This is a direct attack on the people, right? And you look down in Montego Bay, the last batch of mangrove, that is what is earmarked for the Prince of Development in Jamaica, as they call the Crown brand, right? The Jamaican-owned brand, as they say, want to take the last natural defense of the ocean down in Montego Bay. We can't continue those things.
If I may, Mr. Rattick, and I'm happy that Jamaica touched on something there about the mangrove and other things in the water. Many people don't like when I talk, you know, but I want to speak the truth tonight. And I dare in the hotel in the grill to come and say I'm lying. Majority of the hotels in the grill, you know. You know where the feces run to? In the Negril River. A well-known Jamaican politician. I ain't calling no name. Family have hotel down there. And that's where the feces go. So it's not only where you talk about Jamaica. It's the length and breadth of the 7 Mile beach in Negril. And if we, the people of this country, all of us put away this stupid thing of PNP and JLP and JLP and PNP. Stand up. We have to stand up now. If we won't leave a Jamaica for our children. And these people who come to Jamaica and buy up these lands, where these bucky masters that we have in the parliament, these two political gangs in the parliament, one other clansman, sell us off for 30 pieces of silver. There will be nothing left for us. This has been going on for years, where hotels dumping their feces in the mangroves and in the rivers in this country. What's going on in this country?
And you know, it's good to point out that the driver of this is a kind of capitalism, right? That you see similar as to what happened on the plantation. And you know, Rattigan, you are presenting this, you're having this reasoning on the last day of the diaspora conference, where you know, they talk about beach access, and I don't know what they said there. And I want, you know, my diaspora brothers to understand, many of them have left Jamaica and were able to use certain spaces that when they return they can't. But many of them have also traveled and, you know, have done well financially and are looking to reinvest in Jamaica, buy coastal lands and, you know, grow businesses, right? And growing business and economic empowerment is important part of independence, right? But I want to remind them that when they do so, they should not follow the footstep of the colonizer, and they should be mindful that they do not also do so in a way that hurt, the people of lower socioeconomic status, because this is what happened, right? An industry that makes $4.3 billion, that 3 billion of it, you know, is in private and foreign entity that's profit from it. And there are Jamaican rich entities, rich hotel entities that is part of this $3 billion that don't stay in the country. And then what stays goes into investing in also advertising the country. So the country has suffered ecologically because the model of plantation tourism really did not afford our people certain rights. And as I talked about earlier, the Beach Control Act is what sets this up, that we have no rights, right, in to swim, to bathe, and to fish. So we need this policy known as the Beach Control Act. We need it to be really abolished, right? It needs to go. It cannot stay. It is the driver. And so I'm just using this because I don't want it to be said that we were on here bashing government and not really thinking about kind of development that can benefit the Jamaican people. Because any policy that uses a natural resource, which is the coastline, which is the sea, that don't benefit its people, cannot be a policy that is, promotes liberation, independence, and development. Any policy that when you look at it, we only have the slither of rights to beaches. So of all the 494 miles, we only have, less than 1%. Because this policy says that all of this right is vested in the crown. It can't be that the crown, right, is now the executive branch that do what they see fit. And so the diaspora must understand that our movement is rooted in logic. It's rooted in the systematic displacement of a people using a policy, and they can go and they can read it and they can study how it has moved against the Jamaican people. This is why we saw these strikes of the workers. Many of these hotels, the diaspora have visited them and have a good time with their family, but they've not gone under the surface to understand that the unfair wages, the meal rationing, the long hours, the wages, all of these things are happening at these hotels. And so, Jamaicans can speak more to this, but these strikes were the people pushing back at untenable treatment by management and a system that exploit workers. And so we are not here as the government now starts a narrative that we are tarnishing the image of the country. The image of the country has already been tarnished by the government keeping on its book legislation that discriminates against the Jamaican people. The land, Jamaica, has already been tarnished by 400 years of chattel slavery and the dehumanization of the Jamaican people. And coming into independence, the landlessness, the amount of people that still live in squatter settlements across the Jamaican landscape. Those are the real issues in the country. The inequality. The issue in the country as how the security forces uses the military and the police in order to institute a crime plan that leads to the death of more Jamaican people. When you look in the context of what defines this plantation tourism model, that is what I'd like our esteemed and our intellectual diaspora members and the Jamaican family that still reside on the former slave plantation called Jamaica, that all of these things that are untenable for the workers, that repress leisure, that leads to landlessness and the degradation that everyone is talking about right here. These are the hallmarks of a plantation system and the hallmark of what drives plantation tourism. And this is what we're fighting against, a model of development, right? And the disregard for our cultural heritage. Now you look at the profile of a tourism worker, and you can see that we cannot grow a country with people who are just on short-term contract and long hours, low salary, and just waiters, housekeepers, cooks. I'm not speaking down to these professions. I'm speaking that the development and growth of a nation, true and strong independence, cannot be this, right? We have to dream bigger than that. And the resources of the land cannot be used to deal with these kind of position, very similar position that what existed on the plantation. So the whole model here, we have to start, build the consciousness and don't get emotional about Jabems, tearing down government. We are highlighting the vestiges of colonialism that continues to hurt our people. And so we are asking the ones them to really take a look that when government moves and says, we're moving to a new policy in the country, and the policy looks like this policy is going to continue to reflect that, because this allows you to sell the beaches, right? You're still talking about that. It allows you to do what? Have hotel charges, a pass to go on beaches that they don't own. Overwater bungalows, privatization of the sea, and artificial beaches to which we'll have no rights. And when you look at how the economy of the country is structured right now, we said 35% of GDP, the government has about 20 projects that are all coastal that will shift to more like 60, 75%. Now this will be worse. So we can't afford that, because there'll be more degradation and there'll be more exploitation of workers. So that's kind of like what we are pushing back against. And the government says, my solution is, I'm going to build you these beaches, the beach park solution. And we're challenging the beach park solution. And you will be seeing that these beaches are beaches that we already have access to. So they're not increasing access. We already have access to these beaches. And we have prescriptive rights of access to these beaches. And they must be protected. This is not the solution. This is segregation. That beaches for hotels that you have to pay to, and that you have to follow certain things that the hotel says you have to follow. And then these beaches for us. I mean, what do we not understand about that? Many of our diaspora brothers and sisters live in quote unquote, you know what I mean, the global north. That you go on any beach and with anybody from any, you know, I mean, socioeconomic class. You walk on South Beach, you know, you move on Miami Beach, you go to North South Carolina, all these beaches, you go and you walk on them for miles. You don't do that in Jamaica. So adopt a model then that you see in the quote unquote global north, that you see in America or England or Australia or Canada, where it's free movement along beaches, protected by, in several cases, using the public trust doctrine or through constitutional, rights to these beaches. And if you come to Jamaica and then you see this, then justify to me why you could walk along the entire coastline in Barbados, but you can't in Jamaica. You could do so in Antigua, St. Kitts, Nevis, St. Lucia, Cayman, Bahamas, all over, but you can't do it in Jamaica. So I'm asking my diaspora brothers and sisters to look at the evidence and the data that is out there. Look at the society and tell me if that is equality, if that's justice, if that is rooted in rights. And then we can start having a conversation about where and how we must go. And that's why we have to keep the pressure on the government by mobilizing the people for a change that the government should agree with. Okay? And that's why now we have a campaign. And if you are online and you can scan this code right now, or if you want, just go to jabem.org or go to a social media post, because we're telling the government that this campaign, we can't, this policy we can't really deal with. This policy must be abolished. What we're asking to help us, we talked earlier, move as the people, move collectively, is that you must now put your voice, lend your voice to the struggle, scan the barcode, fill out the form that you are back, and we want fundamental and unfettered rights to beaches and the sea and to rivers. And we will get there if we are united. But don't tell me that you agree with the creation of 12 beaches in Jamaica for Jamaican people. Who gets the rest? Don't tell me that you want this to continue at the foreshore, that our people are working these untenable conditions with these short-term contract, these long work hours, right? Don't tell me that you are looking at, suppression of leisure in Jamaica because you work at this hotel and you can't really enjoy them. Don't tell me that the Jamaican people should not own the coastline and remain landless in an independent Jamaica. And don't tell me that environmental abuse as it relates to removal of mangroves, we're talking about putting effluents and waste material in the sea from hotels, right? From degradation of the coastal forests, right? Don't tell me that you witness that in a country and then you're saying that must continue in the name of development of waiters and housekeepers and cook and butlers to drive a plantation tourism model that the country does not benefit, because we see this unfolded in terms of the finances. And I will leave it there. It's always for the colonialists, the neo-colonialists, and the capitalists. It's always about money. And money let people do unspeakable things. And money kept in place the systems of oppression. And that's what we're fighting against. Systems of oppression that lingers and continue to hurt our people.
With even that document, and when we talk about what is happening in Jamaica today's date, and a thought come to mind to say that life is learned backward but lived forward. And when we look at that, in all capacity. When you look in 1939, BITU, Bustamante Industrial Trade Union, was created, and it is by the Jamaica Labour Party. And then you look at 1943, National Workers Union, and it is affiliated and associated with the People's National Party. And then you come forward to 1975 and you see that Labor Relation Industrial Dispute Act of from that time. And what it does is to continue, well, low salary, poor contractual system, the Jamaican people not being treated properly, and they don't have housing solution. Yes, like which we are looking at the big figure now, right? The $4.38 billion that is being celebrated all the time. But what they don't tell the Jamaican people, that within that $4.38 billion, 80% of that did not touch the country, including the Jamaican owned brand Sandals, right? Their booking agency is in Miami, Florida. So it shows that there's no tax coming from the money to help the Jamaican people from that, right? When you look at the figure again, $2 to $4 per hours Jamaican people are getting, juxtaposed to Barbados, that makes $1.4 billion. That is 3 times less than what we are making in revenue. And they are paying their staff $5 to $8 per hour. It's not because of magic. It's not because Bajans are more worthy of respect and money more than Jamaican. It's not because their product, their tourism product, as the Prime Minister said, is better than ours. But in contrary to that, we won 17 times in a row Best Caribbean resort destination. What does that speak for? Is that a facade? Is it true? But I can speak from a person who have been working in the industry, where those testimonies has been coming from the guests, and they've been talking about the other Caribbean countries, and they also say Jamaica product is the best, right? So if we are producing the best, why are we being treated the least, right? Why are we treated like that? And because Barbados is not like a magic, it's because they have leaders who look out for their people and make decisions for their people. And I will segue into development. So they always tell us development. I would love for them to define development for me, because in my 33 years of experience, what I've seen development to the Jamaican people is against them and not for them. Anytime development comes to an area, the people have to leave. The people have to go back into slave jobs, jobs with slave wages, because a fisherman can potentially make for himself $100,000 a day on a good catch, or probably 200,000. But the government is saying that development means that he needs to now leave fishing, a tradition from his grandparents, to go into a hotel where he's now getting 80 to 100,000 per month potentially. Isn't that dragging people back into slavery? How can that be development for the people? One have to wonder if that not development against the people. Because when you look at the communities next door to these hotels, they are degraded, they are in deplorable condition, their houses are of the lowest in our economic class system. So it shows that tourism money is not leaving the gates of the of the building of these resorts. So when we're talking about these things need to go on for who though? We need people to be respected in their profession and be treated and paid properly. And there should be no compromise about that, because the people are putting in the work. The contract system is like this. You work for 6 months. You go home and tell your family members that you have a job for 6 months. Psychologically, that does something to you, right? You cannot live your life with a future in mind. You're living 6 months at a time. Imagine that in your own country. This is what Jamaican people have to be enduring. Because when we look at these politicians, they speak about what is happening in tourism in the country. They are speaking from their feelings, and there is no consultation of the true stakeholders, the true stakeholder within the tourism product. We don't want people to speak for us. We want you to come and understand the situation. And we say that to both political parties. And just yesterday, I was given an email about the tourism link, right? Showing me an event where they're inviting me, where Minister Ed Bartlett is doing a presentation in Kingston. And when I look at that, a day before an event, you're going to send an email. How much time a person get or a group or a body get to prepare for that? It shows that inefficiency within the administrative system. And you need to call and have conversation before you know you're inviting people, right? That is not consultation bringing people into an event. Consultation is agreed date and time to have conversation with people. So we're looking at the tourism model as in the current form as plantation tourism, and we like how the political class is getting on the act of identifying this system for what it truly is, a plantation model that doesn't respect the Jamaican people and take away their homes. And now we have people worrying about how they're going to live after a government act on them. And just a last thing to say, right? We want to ensure those who are in the diaspora to know that tourism and the world, and also the government officials, this is what tourism simple is. If I don't come to your yard, you cannot eat. And let me say it again. If I don't come to your yard, you cannot eat. That means I control whatever goes on there. Tourism is a fragile economy. It's susceptible to external shocks, natural disasters, war, right? Climate change. And we're seeing an uncertain political space, a geopolitical space, and that means danger. Danger for a fragile economy. But instead of a responsible government, and I say government not using it loosely, that includes the PNP and the JLP, should be looking about how they empower the communities. After these philanthropists has run into the communities after Melissa, they don't leave any programs, no sustainable programs. All they did, they went for the clout, for the hype. Where are they now? What program that they have left for people to be sustaining themselves from? They are going to wait till another event, then they're going to give the people again to be gods and goddesses for a time. And the people is not handout that you need. You need sustainability. And this current model of tourism, plantation tourism, can never move Jamaica forward. Cultural tourism is the way forward, that is protecting and preserving our heritage and our culture, and we're doing by protecting our beach, right? And then we move from there. But the Jamaican people are the tourism workers, they are very, very afraid to protest or to say anything, because the economic situation in Jamaica is rough. They don't want to lose their job, and they're on the jobs, they are being discriminated against, and they are being suppressed because they know that jobs are hard to come by in Jamaica right now. The managers are against the people, and the people are calling me and telling me of their situation. And I have to facilitate these conversations, and some of them help them to write messages to their managers just to say that we're experiencing these type of psychological strains. Please don't add more to pressure to me, because it is our own that is enslaving us by asking us to do more with the little resources, little time to rest, little compensation. Nobody cares about people's mental health. These people in the tourism sector, they're working poor and to chest. They're going to work and they're borrowing money. There was a young gentleman I spoke to. He said that him have to borrow him fear to go to work. This is the type of living. People are getting $30,000 Jamaican for 2 weeks of pay. That is disgraceful. In an industry, a multi-billion-dollar industry, which they boast about. And sorry, I'm going on and on, but the people have been talking, and it is getting worse, right? Who is listening to them? And our government smile. Over $50 billion is unaccounted for in the Ministry of Labor. Mr. Pernell Charles, where is the money to put things in place to ensure that you're robust and efficient and effective to protect and preserve the rights of the Jamaican people? And again, they will put attack on me as a person and what I am doing, because I'm no longer saying that it is a political problem, but a people problem. So we want to look at it that it is a people problem, and we must fix that. And I will stop right there.
You know,
Well said, well said, well said. Mr. Tavares.
you know, I sit here and I listen to Jamaicans, you know. In any modern democracy, the government think about its people. When you're going to the Cayman Islands to work, you have to have a work permit to work. In the Cayman Islands, the Caymanian people come first, not the expatriate. This nonsense couldn't go on in Cayman, you know. And when you see that the people of our country cannot take to the streets to protest because they're afraid, this country is run by a dictator. It's a dictatorial system going on in this country that is trickling down to these Bucky Masters hotels. These Spanish hotels. And Jamaica, I sit here and I listen to you, and honestly, it grieved my heart. It truly grieved my heart to see what is going on in this country. And when you hear Edmund Bartlett and Alonda Turlong speak about Jamaica, as if there's no problem in this country, none whatsoever. And the hypocrites from the Jamaican diaspora go down there. And the same Jamaicans serving them. None of them can go once and say, look, you want to tell me something? What's really going on in the hotel industry? No, they can't, because they go down there to be recognized by the people who is enslaving the Jamaican people, because they want to get order of this and order of that. Honestly, it is something that it hurts to the very core. And I must say thanks to both Jamaicans and Dr. Devon Taylor for the work that they're doing. We need more people to rise up. We need more Jamaicans to get up. Rattigan and myself and others has done a lot in the diaspora. It leaves to the Jamaican people now. They are the one who needs to get up. They are the one who must get up. We cannot sit down anymore and accept this. They are selling out every single beachfront land in this country. They're gone and sentence bet now. Where is next? Where next are going to go? It's time for us to really get up and do something. For those who are standing up, we appreciate it, but we need more. We need more people. Mr. Rattigan?
Yeah. I'm just sending something here to OT. So we're winding down now. So Devon, my brother, give us a sense of the lawsuits. We didn't touch that. I know you have like 5, and can you give a status report of where we are, what you anticipate is going to happen?
Yes. Give thanks for always, paying attention to the ongoing struggle. Now, let's start with today. We were we were supposed to have a ruling for this place where you see right behind me here, Little Duns River, right? One of the pretty much the last beach river that we have access to, like that, free. You can just go there, go enjoy yourself with you and your family. We have a prescriptive rights case for this going on in the St. Anne's Bay Court, and the government, of course, closes it. The property is allegedly owned by the UDC. We challenge that nonetheless. And the UDC and the government only allow the Jamaican public to use the space 2 days per week. Officially, Little Duns River is only open on Saturdays and Sundays. So we file an injunction as part of the prescriptive rights case to gain access for the entire Jamaican people in perpetuity, and that has been dragging out. So we file an injunction for the court to grant the Jamaican people more days, of leisure, right? More days. And so that ruling that was, argued in the court by Jabem's attorney, Dr. Marcus Goff, and the government's attorney. The ruling should have come down today, but due to some unforeseen administrative problem, the judge could not make that possible for us. The court was very sincere, and the court apologized for the delay and have rescheduled the ruling for September the 20, get my dates right here. So we go for Little Duns September the 25th at 10 o'clock. We will hear if we get more time. But that, of course, the prescriptive rights case continues. For Miami Bay, which was, on Monday, the Miami Bay court case, part of that case was dragged into the Court of Appeals. And that matter is before the Court of Appeals. And so the judge in St. Anne's Bay has rescheduled the Miami Bay because we need to hear what the Court of Appeal is saying, right? The matter before the judge has ruled that the trial should continue for prescriptive rights. The defense, the two companies, Riverland Olin and Cepheus Olin, objected to drag the thing in the Supreme Court. And so November the 26th is when we go back, provided that the Court of Appeals matter is settled. All right, so that is as far as Miami Bay is concerned. Now we go to Blue Lagoon tomorrow. The trial for the Blue Lagoon begins. Another prescriptive rights case. The case in the Blue Lagoon, expressed across not only recreational and fishing, but also economic rights of the Blue Lagoon Alliance to continue with rafting because the rafting water lanes have been blocked by the state. So you can't raft in the Blue Lagoon anymore. And so we're opening that prescriptive rights case will, push the system so the economic justice of the Blue Lagoon Alliance will be realized. And so the trial starts tomorrow the 19th, and then we have another session the 22nd and the 24th in June, and then the next dates are in September, where September 28, 29, and 30th. So this is projected to be a very long trial. So I'm asking everyone who are within the vicinity of Portland to come tomorrow at 10 o'clock to the courthouse to hear, initial arguments. And also anyone who can have the ways and means to come there to hear, because, last week there was publication in the Jamaica Observer that basically, carry a narrative that, we're lying about access rights to the Blue Lagoon. We have written a press release just to push back against, what we do see as misleading, what the observers publish. And so we left it that one can read those articles and read Jabem press release out there and see what we're saying. So that is that. Then we go to Bob Marley Beach. And Bob Marley Beach, we go back to court in Bob Marley Beach on the 21st of July. Again, another prescriptive rights case for the iconic, Rastaman space, where we know what it meant to Rastafari fleeing state sponsors terrorism and targeted for genocide. They went into this space and established the first Nyabingi setting, and so the entire areas within Bull Bay, was actually settled by Rastafari, and Bob Marley Beach is a space, of just deep Rastafari beginnings, and that is the 21st. The final one on the agenda, which is our newest case, is for Providence Flanker Beach. That we go to court June 30th in the St. Jude's Parish Court. Again, another prescriptive rights case, but it is more than just a prescriptive rights case. It's a case where it's the first case where we're filed actually against the Commission of Land to protect the access to the sea, to sea channels and sea lanes that boaters and fishers are using to move along the reef, because of the projected building of overwater bungalow by Sanders Resort International. And we pulled the Commissioner of Land into case because the foreshore and Florida Sea is vested in the Crown, and all lands are administered over by the National Land Agency, which is overseen by the Commissioner of Land's portfolio. So that case is the 30th of June in the St. James Parish Court. And we're asking people in and around to come and support. So that's the 5 cases that we have. And of course, we move strategically and we continue to build on these cases. We continue to move in the interest of community that would like to collaborate and partner and join the struggle for the liberation of the coastline.
Yeah, thank you, my brother. And this, I'm glad you laid everything out in a concise fashion, so that people can understand that this is not just mouth talk, because far too often we see it where people, and it's kind of weird, because some of the same people complaining that it's all mouth talk. If you say to them, what have you done? They haven't done anything but criticize. And if you say, come join us, they won't. So sometimes when you hear that kind of talk, you have to ignore it, and I've learned to just ignore it and just move forward, do whatever you need to do. And those who are truly committed, they will join you. They will be with you. And the detractors, you just leave them to the side, because they will be with us forever. The people the doubters, they will always be with us. But what we really want is, people who will support the thing come hell or high water. And so I join you in saying to people, if you live close to any of the areas that the brother mentioned where the lawsuits are taking place, please go and show your support. Because at the end of the day, you're actually supporting yourself, your family, your community, and your country. It's not just a one-person thing. It's not just a Jabim thing. It's for the entire nation. And far too often we see where, people, when you try to do things without telling people, them say, hey, no. Well, no, here it is. It's laid bare for all to see that we are doing something. And just one quick thing before I switch gears. It reminds me of the Magnitsky Act. We've been asking them over a year to sign the Magnitsky. And we're looking for get 3,000 signatures. We're looking for get 3,000 signatures. And people were asking, hey, we have to do something for keep the government in check, get the government in check. And we say, okay, here's one way that we can actually do it. But and I said to them, look, you can't send this thing out with just few signatures because you have to send it with an overwhelming amount of signatures. So people understand, the people receiving it will say there's a groundswell of support for this. This is not just one person who get a few I'm friends and a few I'm supporters them for sign this thing, because then they won't pay attention to it. When they see it coming with a whole heap of signature, they feel more inclined to do something about it. But it is what it is. We have other things that we're working on. So, people didn't sign it, that's fine. And some people who didn't sign it, look, I understand. They're fearful. Some of them call me and say, look, I want to sign it, but boy, I'm afraid to put my name on it because you see what I go on in Jamaica. Yeah. I understand that. But the ones that don't understand are the ones who they criticize and they have no fear because they live elsewhere, They don't live under the gun, so to speak, and they just don't sign it. But that's what it is. Now, just want to remind people that Saturday, I'm ahead of myself. On Saturday, Reason with Rattigan will start at 3. But guess what? We have a treat. DJ Kevin Stew will be otherwise engaged. So he has given me his 2 hours. I don't know if I'll use the 2 hours, but I certainly will use 1. And I say that because today I got a phone call from a friend of mine in Jamaica, and we were talking about the Andrew Wheatley and the Integrity Commission situation. And he said, what are you going to talk about on Saturday? And I gave him 3 topics. I said, no, man, you can't talk about them 3. You have to spend most of the time on Wheatley. And Mr. Tim said, don't worry, man. We will have the time. We will have the time. So I'm telling you now, people, if you're interested in knowing everything that there is to know about NARA, everything, and when I say everything, I mean everything, you need to tune in on Saturday because Janet Calder from JAMP will be here. And between Janet Calder and myself, I think we will cover it pretty well. I have the information, but she has a ton of information. So she will be here to discuss, we just call it Everything NARA. And it's so timely because I got a text message from a supporter this week saying, hey, Mr. Rattigan, I hear about this NARA, but I don't know about it. Can you explain it to me? And I said to her, we did a segment on it a while back, but and we're going to do a program on it. And right after that, I had a conversation with Jeanette, and she said, not a problem. I will be there to discuss NARA. So that's 1. 2, this deportation saga, the US and Jamaica, about 25 people, and then we hear it could go up to 10,000, and we hear all kinds of stories. Tune in this Saturday, please, because here's what I'm going to give you that you probably won't get anywhere else. I'm going to give you the perspective from the American side, sitting in the embassy and discussing this issue, how the issue would be discussed, how it would be presented, how it would be accepted. I'm going to give you the ingredients that go into the making of an MOU of this sort. So you'll be getting basically an insider's look at it. And I'll tell you why. What they're feeding you, they, meaning the Jamaican government, is a pack of lies. I'll show you. And not only will I just give you the benefit of my experience, because I've worked in embassies all over the place, US embassies, I will also juxtapose my experience with what the Minister of National Security and Peace, that's the new name now. You can't say Minister of National Security only. It's Ministry of National Security and Peace. I don't know what kind of
peace.
I don't know what kind of peace. This must say, when I say peace, Minister of National Security and Peace, peace meaning sidearm or something like that. And I must say that. Yes. But I'm going to play what he said. I'm going to play not what somebody wrote about what he said, but I'm going to play, you're going to see you're going to hear the words coming out of his mouth. And then we're going to show you what the American government said. And then we're going to show you, let me see if Miss Aria, we're going to show you the role.
Uncle, if I may say something and go real quickly.
Yeah.
Right? Please. I just want to say, when I look at Mr. Albert Marabian, his research about communication So 7% is verbal, 38% is vocal, how we say it, and 55% non-verbal. So the old cliche where grandmother said that actions speak louder than words is very much important. And we see that with the 5 cases, that is action, right? Engaging with people, that is action. So those who are asking for action, I will say, let's become a part of the action that is actually going on, right? And do remember that we are owners, employers, and financiers. And once we view what the situation of our country like that, accountability becomes second nature. Accountability for oneself, and then accountability from others. So we need to start taking a more mature and a pragmatic approach to politics and governance in our country, because this is the only thing that would allow us to pave that path that we need as a set of people, right? We're also saying to the political class that do remember your role, that you should be working for the people and not against the people and over the people. We pay you to do a job. Politics is not emotion. Keep the emotion aside. It is about black and white, about paper. And as you always do, Uncle Will, you put up the paper, the document, and we go line by line. And where contradiction is, where displacement is, where discrimination is, where disrespect and degradation of our heritage and culture is, any Jamaican who is respectful won't choose a People's National Party, won't choose a Jamaica Labour Party over the brothers and sisters. They are not your enemy. They are not your foes. They are your brothers and sisters and should not be labeled as as JLP or PNP. That is separation that will work against you as a set of people. And just a rallying cry to my fellow brothers and sisters in the hotel industry. I know what you're facing is subhuman, inhumane condition. You don't deserve it. You have been working hard consistently. You have quality, you have professionalism, and you understand what it means about service excellent. And I'm going to tell the managers as well, do remember you're complicit in the struggle that the Jamaican people continue to face. When you transcend this life, do remember that you have an obligation to how you will leave this land. Or politicians, you have a great responsibility. When the future generation take up anything to read about you, what will it say about you? Have you continued colonial legacy, legislation that whip us still? Are you shaping and forming a Jamaica that is against the people or for the people? The hotel workers, I know that you are under stress and you feel like you cannot protest, you cannot speak, you cannot do anything, but the power is within you. 9 different hotels protested in 2024. You guys protested without a direction, without asking, without a demand. The demand is that you need better salary. What does better salary looks like? Juxtapose Barbados to you. If they're getting $5 to $8, is it a crime that you don't deserve $10 to $12 because you're getting 3 times more than them? Believe and dream that you are allowed to own a house, because $11.4 million annually, $billion annually, is being taken from the money that you pay in NHT. 2% of your salary, 3% of the tourism operators come from the tourism operators. Those money should go to secure homes for you. You deserve home. You deserve to have a permanent employment so that you can have long-term benefit. You deserve rest. You You deserve proper communities to live in. You deserve a proper house to walk into. When you clean, beautiful, sweet, and go home to bitter situation, that is not normal. That is incompetence, negligence, and wickedness from those who you have entrusted to write legislations to protect you. Never forget that. That is not just JLP or PMP. It is both political party who you have employed have done your dirty. It is time for you to stand for your own. And you, I know you will protest, but when you protest, ensure that you know what you're protesting for. Reach out to me. Let us have conversation. Change is inevitable.
Thank you, my nephew. Devon, I see somebody is asking for you to put back up the barcode. Where is it? This Vesta Allen. And there's a can an American born sign it.
Well, I mean, not because you're American born doesn't mean you have Jamaican, roots. So I would say, our goal is people who are Jamaicans, and if you're a diaspora member in the diaspora, you're Jamaican, you have one Jamaican parent or grandparent, then you can sign, because that link that's the law of the land, right? So you are not excluded, and in line to what happened in the diaspora conference. What diaspora conference is about is bringing Jamaicans together across the planet, saying that being Jamaica is not only physically linked to the land Jamaica, but also moving in ways that you protect the interests of the of the Jamaican people. I'll just put it up back quickly, so so they can, because like Jamaicans, I think you're coming to a close. We have another engagement in night here, but I would say,
well, you can put it up and you can say some parting words. Yeah,
man. I mean, this campaign is a very important campaign, right? And it's important for many things. We talk about ad nauseum, right? The Beach Control Act, right? And what it really means, right? We talk about that, right? And it's important that we stop this policy, because this policy is going to do this. It's going to create this harm. So you must respond. And I can add that it's even more important when you talk about NARA this weekend. We, JABEM, have submitted amendments to the government that should have been included in the NARA bill, because the NARA bill will weaken the Prescription Act of 1882 and also weaken the Adverse Possession Customary Rights Act, right? Because NARA is an instrument that moves in ways that a secrecy clause in it. It allows the government to override, either environmental decision or community decision. It is a fundamental piece of dispossessive document that, can disrupt your continuous use of the spaces, and then you lose your prescriptive rights of access. You'll need information as to how you advocate for your right under the Prescription Act. NARA has a secrecy clause that will also block that. All right. And then when decisions, the laws that should be considered when you're going into, say, take over a big waterfront like Paraty, Black River, Falmouth, you name it, old steamers down there, right? Changing the roadway at Opel. These things has to be considered. The government can go around them. So, this both NARA and the government policy was passed in the same, it was presented to the Jamaican people at the same time. So both these legislation go hand in hand. And as I said, this is the government legislation here, and NARA is very similar, right? So we are saying that we asked for amendment to be made because they were going to impact people's prescriptive rights and people's rights around adverse possession. So we're just asking everyone to join in, right? Because together we are strong. We could change any laws on the land, but we have to get up and demand it. And we're doing some heavy lifting here, right? So our 5 cases that we have are not trivial cases. They're fights against, dispossession. And we have advocacy out there. So please join up, sign up, go to jobm.org or find us on any of our social media handles out there, right? We'll connect with you. All right. So
all right, Virgin. Well, look, thanks for the time as usual. Thanks for making us smarter. Every time we talk to you, we learn something new. And it's always for the benefit of the people. So just want to congratulate you on the things that you're doing. And may the Almighty continue to bless you with good health and courage and strength and a lot of support, because we need the support to get this thing done. Take care of yourself, Brethren.
Blessings.
All right. Good.
Yeah, man.
And I also Jamaicans. I think Jamaicans left already. All right. So, all right, folks. So, we have Tavares and I. We have 15 minutes left. The somebody said importee. I think it is mega importee deportee situation. We're going to talk about that on Saturday, and we're going to show you the role that this person played in that agreement. And we have a document to show you. You're going to be shocked. We did a story on this a while back, and full circle, we're back to where we started. And somebody sent me this. This is not the one. Oh yeah, this is it. This is the conference, people, at the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council Conference. As in, that's a Kupa empty seat.
No, man, a lot of people there, man. A lot of people, Mr. Rattigan.
Put it back, OT. Put back that one, please. The second one. Yes, stop it right there. Let me stop it. No. Where you gone, OT? All right. All right. See there, people. People, the place crowded. Place crowded. I mean, I want to thank all of you. Let me just move that, OT. Remove that, please. Yeah. Just want to thank you, because they spent so much money on that thing, and it spoiled. It spoiled again for the second time.
Second year in a row.
We did it 2 years ago. I will come back and we'll do it again. I want to thank all of you who decided that you're going to make a statement by not going, because that conference was not for you. I want to thank all of you. So this is all the more reason now for them to take stock of who we are and what we're doing, what we stand for, because, see, them conference mash up. And I thought for a moment, Mr. Tavares, I thought that when I saw videos and pictures of the empty hall, I thought that they had breakout rooms.
That's what I thought too.
And I saw different things were going on at the same time. Yeah. But then I realized not all days. Some days it was structured so that this would go for an hour in the same place, and then a 10-minute break, and something else would happen, something else would happen. That's the main hall, and it was somebody say it empty like God a birthday party. Only no. So, and I want to show you. Remove that, please, OT. All right, I want to show you something. Look at this, people.
Visual political branding messages. Visual political branding messages around ministers.
I'll play it again, because I'm sure all of you see the significance of that.
Individual political branding messages.
You see that?
But Mr. Rattigan, but yesterday, Andrew Wheat was on his phone in the parliament yesterday too.
Well, that's
she said nothing about it.
That's because yesterday they chastised Nikisha Burchell for, I think she was taking photographs or something like that.
She was
videoing, and they said that it is against the standing orders. It is true. It is against the standing order, because you can only use electronic devices in parliament for 2 reasons under the standing orders. One, it is to take notes. To take notes. And the other one is to do research. You cannot use electronic devices in Parliament to communicate with somebody. Now, technically, Nikisha Burchell could say, I'm not communicating with anyone. You see, there's some wiggle room there, you know. There's a loophole there because it says you should only use it. It says you can't use it to communicate. You should only use it for research and for taking notes. But she could say, hey, I'm doing this to take notes. She could. An argument could be, I could make that argument for her. But this is an argument for this.
In the same breath, Mr. Rattigan, Nestor Morgan was doing the same thing video in the parliament too.
They've been doing it for quite some time. So when the speaker started calling out Nikisha Burchell yesterday, I was flabbergasted because I'm like, well, she was there when all of this took place, when all of these people on the phone. This is in violation of the standing orders. But we'll get to that tomorrow. We have a little Saturday. We have a lot of things to show you on Saturday. And then just want to show you not one more thing, but I want to show you this. And I want you to keep this in mind. Keep this chart in mind. Whenever you start thinking about America and its might and its power and its influence over Jamaica, keep this in mind. See this? This is 2025 statistics. The most recent statistics from Statin regarding Jamaica and trade.
America is
See this? The top 5 trading partners. United States, number 1. And look at the export trading partners. United States, number 1. And look at the numbers. Look at where we import stuff from. We import $2 billion more from the second place country, which is China. Almost $2 billion more from the United States we import. And look at what we export. China is not even there. You know, we hear about the Chinese, but what are we exporting to China? China is not in the top 5. And look at the gap again between first and second, between the Russia and the United States. So this is a simplistic way of letting you know that when the United States says, Jamaica, you will do this, Jamaica has no choice. No matter what you hear them tell you about, we're an independent nation and we're a sovereign nation and we have our rights and we subscribe to international law, means absolutely nothing. Nothing. Jamaica is almost totally dependent on the United States for its survival. And I don't say it with pride. I say it as a matter of fact. That's what I'm saying. And it's and people should take note of this so that when you see a US policy and people say, well, they might force them policy, you have to take a look at this. Trade. If the United States say, hey, listen, we'll cut back on the trade. We're cutting back on trade. The travel advisory we're going to increase.
God help us.
Some of our partners about sending stuff to you. Jamaica mash up. Mash up. I mean, look at imports, right? Look at imports and then look at exports, right? Look at that. That's a very stark. Look at that. We import $7.5 billion US last year. And what we export? 1.6. 1.6. Right? And then they come and they tell you about this. We talked about this, the GDP, right? And Jamaica now, Jamaica is like in the 60s now. 60 or maybe low 70s. And they tell you all of this stuff, right? That GDP to debt and that we're doing well, you know, we're bounding and blah, 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 blah. Look at Japan. Look at Japan. Debt to GDP ratio in 2024, 237%. Remember now, Jamaica is in the lows. In 2024, Jamaica was in the mid 70s, 70%. Look at Japan, 237. I'll just show you a couple of countries. We did this yesterday. Look at Bahrain, 134. Look at the United States, 124. France, 113. Canada, 111. We don't need to go any further. Don't make them fool you with the fancy talk, people. Don't let them fool you with the fancy talk. And then the last thing we're going to talk about on Saturday is this Wheatley case. Dr. Andrew Wheatley. We're going to talk about his case and the Integrity Commission's report. We're going to go over it with a fine-tooth comb. And we're going to compare and contrast that report with the Prime Minister's report. And you know what you're going to see? You're going to see very little difference. Very little difference. Same charges, essentially. Same charges. So, I want to, let me see what else is here. Because I want them to understand that around here, we are not.
Oh my
They're dark and they're stupid. They're dunce.
Oh
They're
my
dark and they're stupid.
No, they won't find that around here. And then we're also going to ask the Prime Minister, and we're going to ask ourselves, once we present the evidence, we're going to ask ourselves about the Prime Minister and Minister Wheatley in terms of their responses provided to the Integrity Commission. We're going to ask them, we're going to ask ourselves this.
Did the minister lie? Did the minister lie?
We're going to ask that question.
We must ask the same question about Dr. Harris Chang too. Did he lie?
We're going to play that for Dr. Horace Chang. And people, all we're going to do is what we've always done. We're going to put up the evidence and we're going to say to you, look at this and make your decision. Just look at it and make your decision. I mean, is this it? Oh yeah, that's Dr. Wheatley. I'm looking at something here from Dr. Wheatley's file. And like I said, the Integrity Commission, the commission didn't look closely at Dr. Wheatley, is financial arrangements in the United States. And hopefully, when I get off here, I should have some information about his investments in the United States. And between now and Saturday, if I get that information, I will provide it to all of us. So that is where we are. Anything you want to say, Jeffrey, before we go?
Hold on there. There is a new thing coming out of the Jamaican government tonight.
Wait,
They're saying that is the U.S. initiate the talks pertaining to a third country program, not the Jamaican government.
Well, I'll tell you
So
what.
hold on there.
Mm-hmm.
Why would the United States Embassy came out and put out their communique?
I'll tell you what. They better be careful. They better be careful. And when you say the Jamaican government is saying it, who is saying it? Is it the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade? Is it the Office of the Prime Minister?
The Ministry of
National Security? Who's saying it?
Maphead.
That's information.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But was she there in In Florida, when
No,
she wasn't there in Florida
No.
when Ambassador Audrey Marks traveled there for that meeting. She wasn't there.
no, she was not.
Because you see, now they have to kind of cover this thing up because it looks really, really bad. It looks really, really bad. Anyway, OT, OMG.
Oh, before I
Lead
go,
me out. Lead me out, OT.
hold on, let me start here. And before I go, just want to let everybody know that this Monday we're having a current affair program. We're trying to get a high-level member of the political elite of Jamaica to come on and speak to us. I think this Monday, Mr. Article will be gracious with his presence to talk to us. Also, we're going to have him on TikTok for him to see if we can get some people to go over his TikTok page for him to go live. So join us this Monday on the Make It Talk Current Affair program. But on Saturday, come to the university on Saturday to learn something new.
Yeah.
There will be a university class for you to remember.
This Saturday, people, I'm telling you, come with your lunch. You'll take a little break during the session so that you can kind of like just relax and prepare yourself because it will be shock after shock after shock after shock. All right? Come with your notepad, come with your pen, come with a little lunch, and come prepared to learn and spend some time. All right? So, OT, wherever you're there, big up yourself. You're not touch way at all, but that's okay.
Need some apple.
Big up yourself, my friend.
The Global Jamaica Diaspora Coalition kicks off its second biennial diaspora conference online Sunday, June 14th to Thursday, June 18th from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 6 to 9 p.m. Jamaica time. Join this impressive lineup of speakers as they discuss and provide solutions to crime, agriculture, health, economics, tourism, and beach rights access. All are invited and it's totally free. No airline tickets, no hotels, no peddling. Just one diaspora, one voice. That's the second biennial diaspora conference, June 14th to 18th at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 6 p.m. Jamaica time. Join us on YouTube channel Reason with Rattigan. One diaspora, one voice, one Jamaica. Sponsored by our people, for the people.